Although the elegant flyers always appear to us as champions, they have to work hard to survive, even in the fishing paradise of Galápagos. For their daredevil raids, the blue-footed boobies mainly use the shallow coastal waters. However, the supply of fish there changes drastically when the cold Humboldt Stream subsides between January and April. In January 2003, thousands of their young boobies starved to death. Apart from that, well-equipped modern fishing fleets are giving them some stiff competition these days. Galápagos is no longer a pristine wilderness. Dozens of ships lie anchored in the harbor off Puerto Ayora on the island of Santa Cruz. Nowadays, over 80,000 tourists visit the island each year. This creates jobs. Over the last decade, the island's population has risen from 10 to 17,000. Few visitors are aware of the effort and energy involved in organizing a few weeks of holiday pleasure. The Galápagos Islands have already experienced the aftermath of a major tanker disaster. But even if all the environmental risks were under control, tourism itself would still have a significant impact. Non-indigenous plants, often brought in only to decorate the settlements, can have far-reaching consequences. Agriculture in particular has led to radical changes in the natural vegetation. The extensive farms in the cool and humid uplands of Santa Cruz represent one of Heinke Jaeger's most difficult tasks. Heinke Jaeger works at the Botanical Institute of the Charles Darwin Station on Santa Cruz. Together with her colleagues, she studies the effects of alien species on the native fauna. Although everything up here looks nice and green, these cinchona trees are actually aliens. They were introduced during the Second World War, perhaps to produce the once coveted quinine, or maybe just for shade. No one knows exactly why. The trees developed into a plague. Their dense foliage shades the earth from direct sunlight and stifles the indigenous plants. It is becoming increasingly clear that large areas of native vegetation, such as this Myconia, are being suffocated by dense forests of cinchona. In the endangered regions, Heinke regularly collects data about plant growth from specific test areas. The size and extent of each species along a specified line is registered. Such data forms the basis for all analyses concerning vegetation dynamics. Without these results, the development of appropriate protective measures would be impossible. Heinke speaks fluent Spanish, so that cooperation with the local assistants goes smoothly. The negative effects of alien plants has been known for years, but the problem just seems to get worse. About 20 years ago, several farmers introduced yet more new species to the islands, especially blackberries, notorious for their huge growth potential. Their cultivation was soon abandoned, as the plants did not yield any edible fruit under tropical conditions. But the rampant shoots could no longer be controlled. Today, huge areas of agricultural land on Santa Cruz are covered with impenetrable thickets. The protected region of the island is only a few hundred meters away. The flanks of the extinct volcanoes on Santa Cruz are covered with dense tropical rainforest. It is comprised of Scalasia. This tree, a relative of the common sunflower, grows to a height of about 10 meters. In this bizarre, moist and mysterious forest live animals that can only be found on the Galápagos. The finches in particular are known throughout the world. In the 19th century, these inconspicuous birds were instrumental in proving Darwin's theory of evolution. The invasion of alien species threatens to throw the plant life in the Santa Cruz Highlands completely off balance. Something needs to be done to stop the intruders. The work of Heinke and her colleagues from the park administration eventually led to a workable rescue plan. The old cinchona trees are being chemically treated. To limit the amount of herbicide, the bark is opened beforehand. The shoots, still spreading via seed blown by the wind, are carefully removed by hand. This method cannot be used to curb the spread of blackberry, which has meanwhile been spread throughout the island by birds. The only remedy in the national park areas is herbicidal spray, a tedious struggle, and one that may well be doomed to failure. In the Santa Cruz Highlands, the dense forests of sunflower trees now cover only about 30% of the original area. The rest had to make way for farmland. Scalasia is a very special plant group, highly adapted to local conditions on these surprisingly cool islands under the equatorial sun. A single seed, blown here millions of years ago, has developed into 15 different species, forms that only exist here in the Galápagos archipelago. The blooms hardly resemble the composite flowers they were in the past. The plants not only adapted themselves to the dry coastal zones, but also to the misty cold uplands of the various islands. Scalasia helleri even developed feathered leaves, enabling them to collect moisture directly from the air. Scalasia attractyloides can even survive in the hot volcanic gravel. It was thought to be almost extinct until 2 years ago, when Heinke Jaeger and her colleague, Alan Ty, discovered a large population on Santiago. The larva here is still very fresh and otherwise practically barren. The edges of the loose stones are as sharp as broken glass. Rediscovering this species gave Heinke a great sense of achievement. She started specializing in sunflower trees several years ago.
Looks like a tractyloides.
Really?
Come and look at this.
Today, she's one of the major authorities on these plants,
Yes.
a group that underwent such remarkable evolution on these remote islands.